My childhood was pretty good. Uh, I remember being happy. I was raised in a Christian home with a brother and four sisters. Loving parents. They're still married. I just remember it being about 11 years old. Went to my friend's house, and down in his dad's basement is where I discovered porn for the first time. I believe I was probably about 14, 15 years old. I started running away from home, and it started at night. My parents didn't know about it. So I would sneak out of the house while they went to bed. It ended up being drawn out to where I would leave for weeks and weeks on end, and my parents would call the police and report me missing. So out of all of the substances that I could have been addicted to, with chances of all of them pretty much many times in my life, it all comes down to porn, marijuana, and sex. So I knew that I had went too far. When I got to New Orleans, I had been offered LSD, or what I assumed it to be LSD, but as soon as I had taken it, I'd realized something was wrong, and it just got worse from there. I knew that I needed help. I knew that I had went way too far, and I was begging God for Him to take my life when I was on that drug. But I knew that He didn't want me to. He needed me to be alive, and He showed me His grace and mercy through that moment. But I knew I needed help, so I Googled shelters, and I found the New Orleans mission. So when I first got to the mission, it was pretty rough. I didn't understand what I was feeling at first, but I now know that it was conviction for all the things that I've done in my life, and I didn't understand it, so I started praying to God to help me. When I got to Giving Hope Retreat, I was able to experience one of Johnny's sermons, and he was preaching about you being your own God. And I was sitting in the back row. I'm not too tall, so I'm sure you probably couldn't even see me, but it really felt like he was literally staring at me and preaching at me. But I knew at that moment that it was the conviction that God was trying to tell me. I prayed, like, God, forgive me. After that moment, I started crying, like, really hard, like harder than I've ever cried in my life, but it was happy tears. It was releasing. I believe that I've learned a lot of patience. I've learned to be kind to people, to be understanding, to put myself in their position. When I'm talking to them, I've learned the power of words while talking to people. When you're talking to that person, try to understand what they're hearing when you're talking, instead of just spitting out words that are wasted and that hurt people, because I've done that in my life. After graduation, I have plans to go home to Michigan, eventually reunite with my children, but I believe that there's a little bit more that God has to restore in that area, but I trust Him fully with that. Through this program, I believe God used it as a tool to soften my heart, and to bring me to Him, to realize that I do have to depend on Him fully and trust Him, because even now, like, there's things in my life that I have to depend on Him to understand. My name is Joshua Brayman, and I am a disciple.